In 1980, The Beat, aka The English Beat, released their debut album, I Just Can't Stop It, on Go Feet IRS, and from it, the track Noise in This World. Okay, I love that brisk, that half step that we're winding over with that rapid fire circular bass line. Yeah, kind of that wind tunnel vibe here. They've done that in a few of their tracks, and they often tend to be my favorite tracks by this band.
I'm looking for a girlfriend, I want everything noisy. This was someone to lie next to, I want forever, I want whatever Jack now feels like tearing on the blankets, I want forever, I want. And just across that night in your chest, sticks in wet, sticks in my mouth, make me feel as false as you know.
I love that the angularity of that chorus right there, that dun 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 dun. Yeah, that arc right there, and I love how the bass kind of it circles around and it really kind of like throbs outward on that one descent, like that boom 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 boom. Yeah, it goes kind of like under, then over, then like yeah.
You're so graceful, you're so helpful, I feel clumsy when I need you, I want forever, I want whatever Jack not feels like staring at my own face, I want forever, I want. I'm just across that night in your chest, sticks in wet, sticks in my mouth, make me feel as false as you know.
Okay, and we've got the ringing, chiming guitars between Dave Wakeling and Andy Cox, ranking Roger on vocals, and that throbbing rapid-fire bass work of David Steele, and the sax interjections of Saxa. Yes, they're a senior member of the band. And let's catch up with the lyrics here. Looking for a girlfriend, I want everything, noise in this world, someone to lie next to, I want, forever I want. Whatever jackknife feels like tripping up the blankets, I want, forever I want. I'm just a crossed out names in your address book, sticks in weight or sticks in my mind mouth. Makes me feel as false as you look. This is about, seems to be about someone who is filtering through lots of bodies, if you know what I mean.
I'm looking for a girlfriend, I want everything noisy. This was someone to lie next to, I want forever, I want whatever Jack not feels like tearing on my own face, I want forever, I want. And this across that night in your chest, sticks in wet, sticks in my mouth, make me feel as false as you know.
Okay, you're so graceful, you're so hateful, helpful, I feel clumsy. When I'm near you, I want forever, I want. Whatever jackknife feels like, slipping, sitting on my own face, I want forever, I want. I'm just the crossed out names in your address book. Okay, that's perhaps the most telling line here. Sticks in, waiter, sticks in my mind mouth. There are quite a few words that are, actually, maybe this genius.com isn't the best. Track is like a brisk bundle of nerves and excitement in a wind tunnel. And let's see. I also love the kind of like minor modality. It's like no 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 A minor, B flat, A minor, yeah, da no 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 no, yeah, and then that going through that angular bridge. That I want everything, noise in this world, someone to lie next to. I want forever, I want whatever. Okay, the same thing. Tipping up the blankets, I want forever, I want. I'm just the crossed out names in your address book. It's funny, the genius.com transcription had all these like alternate words, like mind, mouth, stuff like that, like as if it couldn't quite hear things. And there were quite a few question marks. Looking for a girlfriend, I want everything. Okay. A lot of repetitive. Yeah, I guess the most telling line is just that I'm just the crossed out names in your address book, meaning that he's like one of dozens of guys that this chick has been with. Huh. And he's looking for a girlfriend, and someone to lie next to. Forever, so he's looking for a relationship, and she isn't. Makes me feel as false as you look. Sticks in waiter, sticks in my mouth. Huh. That's quite metaphorical, quite loaded as terms of its meaning, yeah. And makes me feel as false as you look. Okay, that's another telling line. So she's fake, and he feels used as a result of the experience. Okay, let's hear another track from the album, Best Friend. Okay, kind of a jangly feel on this one, more like brisk, straight-ahead pop. I just found out the name of your best friend. You've been talking about yourself again. No one seems to share your views. Why doesn't everybody listen to you, kid? How come you never really seem to get through? Is it you? So talking about someone who's having trouble communicating, and I guess whose own best friend is himself. That kind of character type would have been looked down on more back in the era in which these lyrics were written than it would be now. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what kind of attitude this is being approached from by the singers here, by the writers. Talk about yourself again, you. Talk about yourself, always you. Talk about yourself again. She's on a holiday. She's got her summer frock on. Suck on an ice cream. It's melting in the hot sun. First date's made. You pray for more. I wanted you, wanted. Everybody knows the score. I wanted you, wanted. A lot of reflexive lines here that kind of just go around in circles. What are we pretending for? Let's talk about ourselves on the floor. Let's talk about yourselves. Nothing more. I promise. That second verse is kind of lost on me.
Talk about yourself again, you. Talk about yourself always, you. Talk about yourself again.
Kind of a mid-60s ring to that guitar right there. I like how the sax comes in, interjects with it.
She's on a holiday, she got a summer frock on. Suck on an ice cream, it's melting in the hot sun. First date's made, she prayed for more. I wanted you, wanted, everybody knows the score. I wanted you, wanted, what are we pretending for? Let's talk about ourselves on the floor. Let's talk about ourselves a bit more. I promise, talk about ourselves again.
You know, it had slipped my mind that there was anything quite this poppy on the first album, which I tended to think of as their most like ska two-tone styled release. Their second being a bit more diversified with like tropical influences, reggae, calypso, and such, steel pan here and there. And then their third being a bit more like mod pop, melodic pop, kind of more in like say like a Joseph K, Aztec Camera, Orange Juice type vein. And yet this is on their first album, and this could be it's kind of more like kind of more kind of in that Joseph K vein with a bit brighter production and such. I guess if you were to like distinguish like the big four of two tone, you could say that Madness had the most music hall R&B influence. The Specials had the most punk influence. The Selector had like well the most reggae influence, roots reggae influence, and this band like you could say at this point perhaps had the most mod pop influence. Although on their second album they would get much more into like the depths of reggae, and perhaps even more so than the Selector did. Yeah.
I just found out the name of your best friend. Talk about yourself again. Yes, I just found out the name of your best friend.
I wish that one chord right there that they landed on briefly had lasted a bit longer. Yeah, I liked how those like kind of staccato ringing tones were playing off, and also I like that that like echoey bit that was like interjecting on Wakeling there.
I just found out the name of your best friend. You've been talking about yourself again, and no one seems to share your views. Why doesn't anybody listen to you, kid? How come you never really seem to get through it to you? Talk about yourself again, you. Talk about yourself always, you. Talk about yourself again, again.
You know, I feel a little bit stupid to say this, but the last track was definitely Ranking Roger singing, but on this one I'm kind of like scratching my head a little bit. Ranking Roger and Dave Wakeling can sound somewhat similar at times. Yeah, yeah. I think they're they're harmonizing on certain lines, but. Yeah, see the way their voices are like melding on the line "best friend." Because Dave Wakeling has one of the most distinct voices in English pop and rock, and yet when I think of like Ranking Roger's "So Excited," come to think of it, he does kind of sound like Wakeling in that song, and they're also trading lines on their big international hit "Tenderness" that they did as General Public. And there, I would have to go and play that track again. Very very familiar, but to distinguish who's singing which, I did not think I would ever have the vocals on an English Beat album confused for even a moment. Anyway, yeah, "Best Friend" by the English Beat. I'm wondering if the subsequent verses helped explain that second one that I was so lost on, because I'd like to parse the ultimate moral of this story. I just found out the name of your best friend. Talk about yourself again. Yes, I just found out the name of your best friend. This band does tend to get repetitive on certain lines, and no one seems to share your views. Why doesn't anybody listen to you, kid? How come you never really seem to get through? Is it you? Okay, just talking about that first person. Yeah, I am a little bit lost, and I don't see any interpretations of the song. I don't know if the person in the front. I imagine that the subject of the first verse is a guy, and in the second verse, well, he's talking about a woman. I'm thinking that the person in the first verse may have Asperger's syndrome, have difficulty communicating, and people back in the 80s tended to be rather righteous and smug toward that sort of thing. You know, neurotypical society did, and so I'm kind of wondering if this is even being spoken from a point of view that holds today. I think, based on the last two song lyrics that I've read off this album, I think the band may have had a ways to develop in terms of their on the lyric front at this point in time. Let's see. Let's hear a very short standout from the album. Click, click. Okay, now this has an arrangement very similar to Noise in the World. Once again, it's that wind tunnel, very brisk, kind of nervous energy with the bass kind of throbbing around this.
One shot magazine, give it a spin. Open your mind, slide the barrel in. If you don't like it, just don't do it again. Finger, trigger, click, 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 click.
I love all the echoey effects, the tremolo effects, and that kind of like tornado type of strum they got going on. Yeah, a bit of recalling the early 60s instrumental rock and such. And some echoey lines and such, indicating that the lyrics are quite substantive. It's a one-shot magazine, give it a spin, open your mouth, slide the barrel in. If you don't like it, just don't do it again. Itchy finger, finger, trigger, trigger, click, 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 click. Okay, I think we might really be on to something in this song, despite its brevity.
Oh, what a dirty vibe is saying sorry through a bottle. Such a job to spend my living up it's all it knows. But thinking back out of our hearts twice as much as living into finger, trigger, faster, 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 faster.
Probably the most new wavy track on the album, just given that nervous, frenetic energy about it. And 1 in 35 is saying sorry through a bottle. Say it's your job to scrape a living up. That's all it does. Well, think it back over it. Hurts twice as much as living. Itchy, itchy, finger, finger, trigger, trigger, faster, faster, I imagine that this is either about suicidal tendencies or Russian roulette, or they may be making a statement about handguns here.
This is it, digital light. You call it a night, and I call it a day. Your heart is so steady at the edge of the bed.
Love the accent too on his vocals, yeah.
Finger, finger, trigger, trigger, click, 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 click. Faster, 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 faster. Faster, 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 faster.
So brisk, yeah, faster, faster, faster. And I love the really tight staccato, scratchy feel of that guitar.
Faster, 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 stop!
Yeah, I don't know who was of the two guitarists, Dave Wakeling and I guess Andy Cox was giving us more of that scratchy bit right there, while Dave Wakeling was giving us the strum. Yeah, and shout out to Everett Morton on drums, giving us the clickety click rhythmic quality that was carrying things along. Yeah, and that sounded like Roger on vocals. Although, yeah, I am a little bit mystified. Well, that's a very different voice right there than, say, the Save It for Later voice. I'll give it that. On here, yeah, that... I just can't believe I would trip up and kind of like find myself wondering, wait a minute. Um, yeah, who is taking the mic here? Anyway, but it just goes to show that those two, as different as they may have been, you just kind of immutably, they had they harmonized well, and yeah, and it was a musical chemistry that really worked through this band and onward through general public. Yeah, the beat, or the English beat as they were known in the U.S. to avoid confusion with another band, an L.A. band led by Paul Collins. Yeah, the Paul Collins beat, and released three albums between 1980 and 1982, and they all got progressively better than the one beforehand. Yeah, What Happened from 1981. I did a segment on that last year, two of the standouts from that, and Special Beat Service from 1982. Yeah, and before the frontal pair formed General Public, and two of the other guys later surfaced in the Fine Young Cannonballs with singer Roland Gift, who had been in a minor two-tone band, the Acrylics, that put out a single in 1980. Yeah, there were actually a lot of two-tone bands. You had like the top four plus like another, say, five bands, like the Reluctant Stereotypes, Bad Manners, the Body Snatchers, who didn't get around to actually making an album before they splintered, before they mutated into the Bell Stars. And Graduate was another one, Pre-Tears for Fears. And some bands that were kind of on the periphery of it, like Dexy's Midnight Runners, who were more like a Stax Vault kind of blue-eyed soul band than anything, and UB40, who honestly were like a roots reggae act. I went over that just recently in another video. For those bands that scored major label contracts and got their music out there internationally, for a brief moment in 1980, there were about 30 or 40 other bands that came along and cut like one single, maybe two singles, yeah, in the two-tone ska vein. And yeah, and Roland Gift was in one of them, yeah. Yeah, so the Fine Young Cannibals totally had all their members had two-tone pedigrees. Anyway, and the English Beat, one of many fine acts to emerge and debut in 1980, a year in which the English music scene was so healthy that you had like ska two-tone, you had the newly emerging goth scene, you had the new wave of British heavy metal, and you had just all these things all this diversity. Yeah, I can't think of a period more healthy. Yeah. Anyway, for more rubies and sapphires from the catalog of the Beat, or the English Beat, see the directory of albums by English B artists linked in the description below. For red hot tracks and purples from the three albums, and then you can go through other parts of the alphabet for other bands in the two-tone vein discussed in this video. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, share the video, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the three tracks we just heard, the lyrics, the layers. Yeah, if you can parse more meaning in some of these lyrics, particularly the first two, than I was able to, I'd appreciate that. Yeah, the interplay, the different subtleties of instruments and everything. Quite a skillful band when you pay close attention. Yeah, and the vocals. And if you want to slap me over the head for my uncertainties about who was singing what, yeah, I would deserve it. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled trimaximalist, signing off.